Hi everyone, let's talk about Winter Kingdom, which I just did a full 2-player playthrough for. If you want to see all of the game out and see what it's about, the playthrough is there. It's linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet, because this is just about what I think, if you're interested in that. So what do I think? Well, I think it's great. I love Kingdom Builder. That it's a spin-off. It's a successor to it. It's a re-implementation of the same basic system of draw one card, put 3 of your houses on terrain matching that card, but you have to build adjacent. So while your very first placement of the game is absolutely free, go wherever you like, you kind of gradually box yourself in more and more. Well, I say gradually, you might rapidly do it if you don't place cleverly. It's about being aware of what you're doing to yourself as you place these things down. You are fulfilling 3 cards like you were in Kingdom Builder as well, 4 points at the end of the game. And the same thing applies where you can be putting yourself, just by placing in this first terrain of, say, flowers, well, that's the 3 houses you put down. Okay, in the future, we're going to have to go in this flower field until it's filled up by me or other players filling it up can help you out as well. But it's also putting you next to these other types of terrain. So it's fencing you in because, well, now I'm next to the grass. So when I draw this grass card, it's not like, oh, well, I can go anywhere. No, I've got to go in this one next to this. And if you kind of spread yourself really thin early on, you can end up just building out from this one great big splodge on the map, which can be really, really restricting. And, in Kingdom Builder itself, I have only really heard kind of negative things from people that I've played with or groups that we've been part of. I'd only heard really, really negative things about Kingdom Builder until I tried it out for myself. And I can kind of see where they're coming from if they've had those kind of experiences with the game, that just having one card can be really limiting. I'm saying all this about Kingdom Builder, but a lot of it applies to Winter Kingdom as well. I realise that I'm talking about a game that this video isn't about. But yeah, from that one card, so much decision space comes from that. So much kind of visualizing where you're going to need to be, what the points cards want you to do, because they can want you to do wildly different things, as in Winter Kingdom as well. But I think perhaps as a response to that, or perhaps just to do something different from Kingdom Builder, Winter Kingdom does give you more options right out of the gate. And I will say that while I've had Kingdom Builder for years and played it plenty of times, I haven't played with all of the expansions that it's got. I think I've got 2 expansions. I've got the very first big box that they did. So I think it had 2 expansions back then, and it's got at least 2 more big expansions since then. So I imagine it's done loads more wild and wonderful things than I've seen. But yeah, Winter Kingdom is kind of Kingdom Builder with an expansion or 2 built in, that you have straight away got these tunnels on the map, that everybody starts with that ability to move one house adjacent to a tunnel next to a space adjacent to a different tunnel. So straight away there is a bit more freedom, not massively. You are still restricted by that just placing placing your houses based on the terrain card that you have. But yeah, I wonder if it's kind of letting you out a little bit, letting giving you a bit of a longer leash in this. It's still restricting you, but from that there is a twist card that's going to fundamentally change the rules of the game. I think one is, if you place so many houses on the board in a certain turn, you have to take one back at the end. One is all of the boards are treated as completely separate. The one that was in the playthrough, spoilers if you haven't seen it, but hey, see it, is the first house that you put next to a village. You can put a new house out adjacent to any of your other houses, but only for your very first one for each village. Yeah, they add a new kind of fundamental twist to the rules of the game. And then you've got the abilities. So in Kingdom Builder, we had all these different types of hexes based on the boards that you started the game with. They would give you'd have little stacks of these ability boards, and when you would put a house adjacent to the terrain type of this ability, you would gain that ability, and as gradually throughout the game, you would get more and more abilities to use on your turn, allowing you to put more and more houses out or move them around the board based on what those abilities were. So instead of that now, instead of having to go places on the board to get those, you start off with a hand of 5 random ability cards that are, a similar kind of thing, placing on certain types of terrain, or maybe terrain that you're not even allowed to build on, like mountains. That's only a couple of cards in the game would ever let you have hexes on mountains, that depending on the scoring cards and the twist cards that are out, can be massively beneficial. Like in the playthrough game, it was have the longest contiguous straight line on each of the 6 terrain boards. Well, if you can go across mountains, that's a massive advantage for that thing. If you choose to go for it, if you choose to try and keep your lines going across those mountains, whereas everyone else has got to be broken up by them. But yeah, you start with those abilities. So similar to Kingdom Builder, you could see what was out on the board to begin with, but these are your own personal things. You're not going to be blocked out from people getting to these spaces before you. This is your own thing, and you spend money to get them out. You're limited, 1 per turn. You can get out there if you can afford them, and you can upgrade them as well. A lot of them have a more powerful version of the ability. So the mine one that I was talking about, the level 1 just lets you put in a space next to a mountain, but the level 2 ability of it, instead, you could choose to put a house right on a mountain where usually nobody is allowed to. Some kind of extend it, like it's place on a fell field on one of the purpley spaces, but then move that piece somewhere, or one was jump a piece over, but then put a new piece back where you jumped that from. So you start off with these abilities, and it's up to you how you want to do these things, how you think they're best going to benefit you, at what time, which points cards determine what we want to do, like have a great big contiguous line of things. I had that tavern that was extend a line of, if you've got at least 3 in a line, you can keep making it 1 longer each time, which would be really useful for that points card. And it costs money to do, so there is a new card each game that is going to determine the way you get money. And so I think it can be, placing pieces not adjacent to each other on a turn that you're going to need. You're going to need abilities to be able to do that. Or there is place all 3 of your things in a contiguous line can earn you some money. So it's all new ways of pulling you in different directions, in changing your decisions a little bit, that you aren't just going for these scoring things. Or maybe it's worth me going for the money option instead, because I could get these new abilities out that would let me put more pieces out and maybe accelerate the end of the game if you're doing well, or move your pieces around so that none of them are just in completely useless spaces. It's definitely, like, I think at this early stage, because obviously I've played Kingdom Builder way more than I've played Winter Kingdom, at this stage I kind of prefer those restrictions. I never had a problem with, you've just got 1 card in your hand and that's it. You must place these things there. And that's still true in Winter Kingdom, but I think that there are more things built in to help you out. Just having those tunnels from the start, and depending on what the twist card is, can help you out. Gives you a little bit more freedom, I think, out of the gate than Kingdom Builder ever did. And that might be a massive boon to people. It's definitely not something that I disliked. I still really enjoyed Winter Kingdom, but I did find myself kind of thinking, well, I need to go back to Kingdom Builder now and see how I feel about those restrictions being back in, because you still got all of these abilities and things. It's just a different way. I think that, you're still going to have a preference, but yeah, this might open it up to you if Kingdom Builder just wasn't fun. Largely, it is still the same system, though, so I don't know. You're going to have to ask someone that didn't like it on you, rather than me imagining it for you. Watch the playthrough and see if it would have changed your mind. But yeah, all of the things that I ever saw about doing a variant to Kingdom Builder and drawing a few cards, having a hand of cards and choosing one each time, that's just kind of fundamentally changing the basic thing of it's the core of the game, is that you just have this 1 card, and from that massive restriction, from the restrictions that you have placed into yourself, what can you do from that? You can very, very easily tie yourself up in this game, less so in Winter Kingdom. I think that's probably an advantage as well, especially to new players. It's less likely that you are going to completely restrict yourself to one little area of the board because you're adjacent to too many things and you have to just keep building adjacent now. Just the fact that you've got the tunnels right out of the gate, that means you could jump to somewhere else on the map and then be adjacent to other things. It depends on the configuration of the board and which card you've drawn and all that stuff, of course. But yeah, I think that could be a huge advantage for people. And as far as I am at the moment, I'm definitely keen on keeping both and going back to Kingdom Builder and trying it out. And there's other differences, like there were parallelogram boards, weren't they, in Kingdom Builder, unless I'm remembering that completely wrong now, whereas they're like hex boards now that make a nice, great big hexy flower on your board instead. I thought as well about expansions in that, Kingdom Builder, it always gave you new boards and stuff. I don't know how much you would need that with Winter Kingdom. And, you always needed the new ability boards and new tokens and things depending on what you were playing within your particular game of Kingdom Builder. Whereas in Winter Kingdom, all those abilities are just on the cards. So I would imagine maybe you would have to play with different sets. Maybe you could just mix it all together. But potentially, expansions for Winter Kingdom could just be new decks of cards, which is another advantage as well. As much as I love my great big Kingdom Builder box, I do want to fill it up eventually with the rest of the stuff. Yeah, space is always at a premium, and fitting it all in a little box just with more cards would be a nice little thing. But that's, who knows what's going to happen with it in the future. It's all up to you, though. The playthrough is there for you to decide for yourself whether or not you want to try it. Did you hate Kingdom Builder? Did you love Kingdom Builder? What do you reckon about Winter Kingdom? Let me know. I'm going to go now. Bye, everyone.